A new Green Deal has been proposed for the European Union by Ursula von der Leyen last week. And we at CEVEN Protect, we want to contribute to the very same goals, to the same sustainability goals that are in this deal. We want to make this deal a fair deal between equal partners, between nature and us humans. Let me introduce you to Nature 2.0. Our company is a true DLD brainchild. It started on last year's speaker reception with my co-founder Peter talking to Alessia and Steffi about what we do. Steffi then introduced Peter to a few fellow like-minded people, and that's where the story begins. Following an example from New Zealand and Ecuador, a group of Indian lawyers set out to win a 10-year case race to give human right-like status to the River Ganges. Now, we asked, why not just put in a Clean Water Act? Well, the legal status of human rights triggers in every jurisdiction somebody to be appointed as honorable custodian for the river, meaning he, the custodian, has the obligation to protect the river and act on its behalf. Well, our visionary minds as blockchainers were vivified, and we set out to unchain the powers of decentralized technology by bringing nature onto the blockchain. We are called CEVEN, that's Elbish from J.R.R. Tolkien's world, for world, Earth. So I grew up very close to a small forest, privately owned small forest, and me and my friends, we made a sport out of climbing into the forest, sneaking in, climbing on top of the tree house, and poking around the pond. We communicated with the forest, and we clearly felt its value to us, but the forest could not communicate back with us. It had no voice. Now imagine a world where we, through technology, give nature a voice and the transactive powers to express and trade the values it has. Back to my childhood forest. The owners are now around 70 and say they want to give it away to a charitable cause. They currently have two options. They could give it to the church, the local municipality, or to a charitable organization such as the WWF, or they could create their own trust fund and appoint administrators that take care of the forest and take care of the cause that was defined for generations to come. Now today, we want to introduce a third way, a new way we believe has very, very disruptive potential. Imagine that these people donate the forest to itself. Now, the technical framework that allows for such a seemingly crazy idea, to be honest, is called Decentralized Autonomous Organization, or short DAO. A DAO is, in a nutshell, software code that can own things. And like in the foundation, value is allocated to a specified cause. But in contrast to the traditional foundation, the DAO is deeply decentralized, meritocratic, and disintermediated. Meaning, there is no more need for a custodian. And on top of that, we have a tool in the DAO that allows us to transact value within the DAO and with outside partners. We call that a nature value token. By transferring the ownership into the forest ownership into the DAO, we open up new gateways for participation by humans, machines, by legal entities, and by the forest itself. That part of nature that owns itself becomes a self-sovereign nature ecosystem. Too crazy, you think? Well, it's already here. A forest outside of Berlin was transacted onto a DAO a couple of years ago, I think 2 years ago, and it acts as a DAO and represents its own ownership. Now, what started as an art project, they're called Terra Zero, evolved into a movement called Nature 2.0 movement, and will soon become a new blueprint for other ecosystems to be represented by these technological means. Sorry. This could be, for example, a valley in the Alps that owns itself, or it could be a tiger sanctuary that is set up by the WWF. Current paradigms about ownership and about nature have to be overthrown to understand how revolutionary this concept is. Think about a protected savanna that hires its own rangers. Think about a forest that sells carbon offset certificates or the timber sustainably to the local sawmill. Or think about a secluded valley in Peru that monetizes on the license on the antiviral properties of a rare plant that was found there. These are only a few examples of what Nature 2.0 and decentralized systems like these are capable of. The key is to provide a voice based on objective data to the legal, economic, social, and political dimensions and all other dimensions the forest has. Organized in a DAO, the forest is enabled to give a voice to these dimensions and to express them in value. With such systems, the social impact and, more importantly, the efficiency of charitable causes is greatly improved. The disintermediation of these systems makes them much more cost-effective, and they can be a novelty blueprint for governance for new causes such as Terra Zero or existing causes such as the World Wildlife Fund. But do not fear Morpheus handing out red and blue pills soon or Agent Smith hiding behind every tree, because technology is merely an amplifier for human behavior, and it is in our hands to amplify the good. If we enable the forest to amplify good, it does not only benefit the forest, but it does benefit us humans as well. The current landscape of these Nature 2.0 ecosystems is still very small. There are a few pioneers working on it, and that's very valuable, but on a global scale, they won't move the needle. So we built CEVEN Protect to be the catalyst, to be the enabler, and to be the connector of all these ecosystems. Let me take you on a hike through our self-sovereign forest. So, it's a beautiful place, it's peaceful, there's tons of trees, they're growing, they're thriving. You enter the forest and you see piles of timber ready to be picked up. The timber was put there by a contractor that was hired by the forest to take down the trees. Also, the forest puts tons of CO2 back into the earth. Therefore, it has the capability of selling CO2 offset certificates. You check your phone for the map, making sure you're on the right path, and you see them advertised right there. Now, we pass by a small plot where very young trees are freshly planted. We could have done that in collaboration with Ecosia, for example, and the trees are taken care of and protected by the DAO. Now, on our way out, we're friendly greeted by a ranger. This ranger was hired by the DAO to check on the health of the trees and the livestock living in the forest. The money needed for that was gathered by the DAO by selling the timber, the certificates, and organizing hunting trips to manage the local deer population. On the way home, at the train station outside of the forest, you see a sign that tells you how to donate to the forest or even become an active participant in the DAO. So next time you hike in the forest and you pick up trash, you can get reimbursed for it. How cool is that? For all those activities, the self-sovereign nature ecosystem needs two things. It needs open source code for the DAO, and it needs data to act. It needs data to be active. And this data is mainly location data and a time axis or change detection within the system. In technical terms, geodata and geointelligence. Based on this objective data, the forest can draw conclusions, create models, and take decisions, or those that own the forest. At CEVEN Protect, we set out to be the provider of all of these elements. We provide the smart contract framework for the DAO. We provide the geodata and the geointelligence as a service to these DAOs to ensure that they can run safely. What we want to do is we want to supercharge the adoption of self-sovereign nature systems. We want to pave new ways for other ecosystems to grow and for large-scale sustainability projects such as the Green New Deal by Ursula von der Leyen to grow and thrive. But we want to make this deal a good deal. We want to make it a good deal between us humans and Nature 2.0. Thank you very much for your attention.